We're live from ABC News.
Yeah, copyright.
Oh, sorry. We're not copywriting. We're in no copycat league. I gotta fix my hair though. All right, we did. Look at that, it's light out right now. I was wondering where that went the other day.
You can't blame me for everything around here. That's all I gotta say. You out here dropping food on the ground. Being all extra.
Hi, I'm Austin Eartham.
And I'm Taylor Patton, and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast.
We're here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, sharing our stories, helping you to get 1% better in all areas of your life. This week, we're going to talk about asking for help and how bad Austin is at it, and some ways how he needs to get better at it. This is probably the episode where I am the worst so far in terms of being efficient at it. And that hood's having some problems for you, huh?
I don't know if I want it up or down.
I think you want it up. No, you want it down. You want it down so everybody can see you. All right, last week's episode, we talked about happiness and joy, and the challenge was to have 3 happinesses in your week and 1 joy. The verdict is?
Yeah. I gotta work out a lot. Sorry, one of my better weeks of working out this year.
That was happiness or that was joy?
Happiness, I'd say. Trying to think. I spent a lot of time at work, so I don't even know. Honestly, I can't say really concentrated on the challenge this week. I kind of failed in it.
I'm a big fan of last week's challenge. Like, I'm all about the happiness and the joy stuff now. Since we talked about it, I've been reflecting a lot on it. I actually found more joys than I did happiness, which I think is awesome. Even in the hardships, I think I find some joy. I think the happiness are things like having a certain food or hiking up a mountain or having the sun come through my window in the morning. And then I got the joys like the hardships of life and the wisdom you gain from it, coffee, spending time with friends or loved ones, figuring out this game of life, and just like talking about the future or thinking about it, or exploring for it. Like my fiance and I went through a registry this weekend, so we can send out some invites here soon. And just looking through it and going to the places and testing out the espresso machines and stuff like that. That's really fun, and I enjoy it a lot. So it wasn't a great week, but it was a good, some good moments in there. Really good moments. Quote of the week this week is the classic one from that put on the Instagram page. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but show of strength, essentially. Millions of people have said it. It's very common. I think that we look at it as weakness, like you don't know how to do something or don't know how to go about whatever business you're trying to do. But at some point, everybody was at square one, right? So I tell kickers all the time, shout out to all you guys, that everybody starts at some sort of square one. So you're not going to be the best walking in the room. If you are the best walking in the room, you might want to find a new room, honestly. And people have the mindset of a fixed mindset of you can't get better or you're where you're going to be forever. And I totally disagree with that. Totally disagree with it.
Why?
Because, for instance, like when we first started this podcast, how bad was our audio in episode 1?
Right? Mine was really bad. We didn't understand it. Yours is pretty decent.
Yeah, but overall we
really
didn't know what we were doing. Yeah. And now we have more of a steady plan of what we're doing.
Yeah.
We have a set schedule of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it just flows a lot better. So like in the kicking world, you might only make 20-yard field goal. And then a year later you might kick a 30-yard field goal. So you can get better, but at the start you're not going to know how to kick. Like naturally. You might just know how to swing your leg, but you might not know the exact tips to get better, like finding a target, opening your foot, all that stuff.
You're saying it's the same thing? Like not the same thing, but like the same gradual increase?
Yes, I'm saying there's always an increase, and sometime along there, you're going to get help.
Yeah,
Nobody's ever gone through something from start to finish
exactly.
and not asked for help.
And yeah, the great thing, not a great thing, but the more convenient thing now is the internet.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
You don't have to necessarily ask someone or know of
Yeah.
someone. You can just
Makes it a
Google it,
lot easier.
YouTube it, email the certain person. So seeking advice or looking for advice on how to become better or understand something more in depth has gotten immensely easier.
Yes, I think that, for instance, Jordan Spieth never had a golf lesson until he was in his like third or fourth season on the PGA Tour, and then he started doing bad, and then all of a sudden he needed a coach to like actually help him. So no matter how high you are,
that's more mental than
yes, 100%. But I think no matter what, sometime you're going to need help, and I think we talked about this in other episodes. That Google might get you a good start, but at some point you're going to have to find somebody of a resource, even if they have a check mark behind their name, that makes it seem a little more reliable. For instance, today I was looking at EMOMs, every minute on the minute workouts, to do for fun today. And first one I click on was,
never heard of these workouts before.
So EMOMs are every minute on the minute you do something. So like for instance, it could be every minute on the minute for 10 minutes you do 3 power cleans at a certain weight. Or you could do minute 1 you do squats, minute 2 you do burpees, minute 3 or whatever, and set number and you keep going. It's to build muscular endurance is what it does. Very popular in the CrossFit community. So I was looking at one, and the first thing I clicked on was Healthline. You think Healthline is going to tell me what I need to know? For a very basic person, it might say that. You do 5 squats, you do 15 jumping jacks. But I needed something more advanced that I was actually going to get a better workout in, so I had to go find like it's called Waddell app, or website, there's an app too, to have more in-depth. So I had to go search for something more advanced on the level to accommodate me. And if you're in person with somebody, obviously you can't be afraid to ask your coach that if there's a so-called professional at it. But yes, definitely easier to ask for advice or seek things out, like on the internet or something.
This is a great thing.
Yeah, unless you're finding wrong information. I guess somebody could tell you wrong information too. Hopefully that just doesn't happen.
Whatever. Thank you for canceling out your stuff over there.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thinking out loud here. How's the Vitargo going?
I like it a lot.
You said last week you worked out more.
I like it a lot.
It helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, I need to take it. At work, I raised a kid, and my hammies were feeling that. I didn't stretch or anything. I was just
Well, that's why.
I was like, you just want to race? And I was like, I was feeling I'm gonna tell you myself. I was like, he just got back from track, and he's more like, he talks. He's like, oh, I'm this and that, and I was like, I can get this kid in a race.
How old is this kid?
16 maybe.
So he's a high school kid.
Yeah. I was like, I can get this kid in a race. I was like, Granddad, I haven't ran for speed in my entire life. like I run distance, so I run a pretty steady pace. I don't run for speed ever. But I beat him. And okay, beat him. I full of confidence. I was like, hell yeah.
And you're like, where's my Vitargo?
No. And I could feel my hamstring. And then I was like turning out, and there was like right where we were, there's like this big kind of like a little dip with crevice, and like as it's been warm, so the snow and was melting, all that says water slid all through it. My entire pants and everything completely covered in water and mud. I was like, I got humbled real fast.
Yeah.
So
the happiness didn't last
but
long.
yeah, so today I was running, and I didn't feel like I pulled it. It just feels tight.
Yeah.
And that, so
you gotta do some stretching.
Yeah.
But Vitargo helped that recovery.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, I took it for a week. I like it a lot. I'm very.
I'm telling you, it helps you. It really does help you recover.
Yeah.
We got a discount code in the link for you guys, in the description for you guys here at the podcast. So let us know if you guys try it and what you think of it. And then we'll hit the rest of the dollar bills and be right back. All right, let's dive into things about asking for help. First of all, the definition, which is probably one of the easier definitions we've ever had. Ability to ask for help is to speak or write to someone because you want them to give you something. That's to ask for. Okay, so that's like requesting or talking to someone, to speak or to write someone because you want them to give you something.
And
so you want some sort of feedback.
Yeah. That's asking for help is such like a weird thing because people always like proclaim like self-made or like they never want to ask or feel they don't want their pride to be
which is
compromised.
I learned a lot about pride this past week. So pride is in the books I was reading. To have pride is to not fully trust God. It's to put you above God. So if you have pride, it's like my way, like you were just saying, right? And so if we take God's way, we should let go of our pride and be more humble. Like you said, your race didn't last long in terms of your thinking you're victorious type deal because you slipped in the mud.
Right. I mean, I wasn't embarrassed or anything, but I was
this is God saying, give me a little humble strike there.
Right.
But I think
pride will definitely like put you in a position of I want to say you're back against the wall, but like you just feel pressured all the time. You have to live to like a certain way or a certain standard.
Yeah, I totally.
And then when that's compromised, all of a sudden you have to fight back.
Yeah,
or put pressure down.
Side note, it's very peaceful outside. You can hear like the pond. I love it. Anyways,
okay.
More joy. Anyways, but I think the pride, I totally agree with you 100%. Because if you have pride, you're like, I got to do this. Otherwise, you let something down or you feel embarrassed. Like, for instance, when I do bad at a kicking camp, I feel like embarrassed. Like, hey, I don't know, why am I here? I did bad. Like, it looks like crap. But really, I'm above so many people. There's a CrossFit thing, like the Open just got done. So it's like the first stage of becoming like the champion or whatever. And they had something they'd never done before. They had the gym owners and a professional one do it together. And this girl, who was one of the gym owners, was way behind everybody. But she's still going at a fast pace. Like, I don't know if I could have kept up with her. And she was trying to do muscle ups, and she was doing them like kind of cockeyed. And she like had to like jump and then push herself up. And the crowd was going crazy. And I was just thinking like, I wonder if she's embarrassed right now. And then I'm like, no, like everybody's cheering for her, wanting her to get better. She's literally doing the best she can, and she's pushing through that. That should be a win. But we put so much emphasis on you got to win or you got to reach whatever expectation you put on yourself that it's not good enough. So like asking for help that's why people don't do it. It's because like that's one of the reasons I don't do it, at least because I don't want to be like inferior to them or feel like it's a bad thing. But really, I also hate when individual athletes, like you said, they kind of self-made, you know. And every individual athlete still has a team. A tennis player has a coach. They have a trainer. They got a nutritionist. They got somebody to get their travel accommodations. They got an agent. Like it's not by themselves, you know. So it just looks way worse than I think it really is to ask for help. I think maybe, tell me if you agree with this, not asking for help, you will be in a worse place in the end, both individually who you are and in whatever success criteria you're going off of, than if you did ask for help.
Yeah, that is going to take you longer to understand or comprehend.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would agree that it hinders you, but because it's a very humbling place when you have to ask for help.
Yeah,
like I hate. One reason why I don't like moving is because I just want to be able to pack in my car and go.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to try and move things. I don't have to ask people or to borrow anything, to use anything. I just want to be able to put it in my car and go. If it doesn't fit in my car in the first go, I don't really want
doing it. Which is fine, but also, what if we change the narrative to, if I have something, I ask somebody for help, that's getting out of your comfort zone, which means growth, and also is an opportunity to build a relationship. I think that's maybe the narrative. It's like me being embarrassed for like kicking or whatever it might be, to have the narrative switch to be like, hey, I'm here. I've done this, and this, and here's what I've learned from it. So
Yeah.
a quote I heard on another podcast, heard a lot of good quotes this week on podcasts, but one of them was, you learn more. One was in a Bible verse, and then I heard another one through a podcast. Basically, it was saying how you learn more through struggles and you gain more wisdom by either taking a risk or struggling through something. They kind of go hand in hand usually.
Yeah.
And that's what makes life fun to live.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, and I knew you would agree with that. I just thought it was pretty interesting because a lot of people don't ask for help because they don't want to take the risk, even though it's not a risk if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be.
Yeah.
But just asking for help is a good way to build relationships and become vulnerable, in my opinion.
Yeah. And if you don't learn when you're young, it's a struggle to learn when you're older.
Yeah, and I think we can talk about that and like when we talk about how to get better at it. But I think if you try to, we always say in school, try something. If you don't know how to do it, ask, get a hint, and then you try to figure it out again, and you learn way more because you still did it, physically or mentally, whatever, and then you ask for help, so you got it quicker than trying to figure it out on your own and just being stubborn about it. I think that's an easy way to, okay, I need these 3 tries. If I don't get it then, okay, ask for a hint. These 3, okay, I need another hint. And in the end, you end up solving it and figuring it out on your end, or in the end, which I think is important. All right, question for you. What are some things you're currently struggling with that you would like to ask for help on? Just kind of spotted it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just had to put you on the spot with it. First of all, let's go to this. Are you aware? What are you really aware of in your life right now? Maybe this is a good way to start.
What do you mean?
Like, so what we were discussing earlier when we were doing this episode about how asking for help really helps your awareness, or you have to be aware of something first to ask for help. Either way. So what are you aware of right now in your life that keeps coming back, that you keep thinking about, that maybe you could ask for advice on, like maybe the next step in your life, maybe how to do your job better, maybe how to stream more, maybe how to make the podcast better. What are you thinking about that you can do? What's the next thing that, hey, I can get better at this, and who can help you get there?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we think about the action, but we don't think about who.
I'd say one. I've gotten better over it because I kind of have just gotten to a point at work where I was just kind of like not kind of F it, where the people around me, the staff team around me, just need the feedback, and usually I'm never in emotional state enough, or never put myself in emotional vulnerability to, I wouldn't say care, but force myself to tell people how I feel. And so like I never need to express how, like, I'm just bad at giving feedback because I just suppress it.
Yeah.
Or like I'll think about it, kind of like say this should probably be done better, and then if they're not able to do better, I'll just do it myself.
Yeah.
And so now it's
I do that same thing.
Where so like I definitely am. I had to ask my supervisors on ways that they've done.
Some of it is
back in that, and then another thing I also had is just being able to take a step back.
What do you mean, take a step back?
And that, like, whenever I left one job to kind of coast around the job.
Yeah.
And then now I'm so immersed in that job.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel myself, like, me working 90 plus hours this week, I was immersed.
Yeah.
I was like, I did not want to leave because I felt like if I left, stuff was going to happen that I wouldn't like, and I was going to have to face that.
Mm-hmm.
Or else I was going to deal with it. Like, the people around me weren't at the same par or the same thought process I was.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by... That's what I mean by sometimes we don't ask for help because, like, we want to have that control. or we don't want to have something like, if you can't do it, I'll do it better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it right now, then I'll just do it. And it like takes that stress off of you. And if you're not there, that stress becomes back on you. So then I think it's like, oh, I'll just do it. I won't even ask for it.
Yeah.
So I think trustworthiness is a huge thing of asking for help. You got to be able to trust what's going to happen. Otherwise, that's why businesses fail.
Right.
You say something, somebody doesn't do it, or you don't trust them, and then next thing you know, nothing gets done, or you're both placing orders or whatever it is, and then that's just downhill from there. So did you ask your boss on how to manage that better, or no?
Yeah. They're just like, essentially they just make it immediate. They don't second guess it. If you need to say something, say something.
Yeah, I think that's another good point.
Yeah, they're like, you've been here long enough, there you understand.
Yeah.
Where things can be, how things need to go.
And I've learned a lot about that last couple of weeks too. I was listening to Joe Rogan today as I was working out, and he was talking to so it's a documentary on Netflix, which is a really good documentary about the guy.
14 Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard this.
And he basically, like, the guy said, like, this many people die, this and that, and Joe just comes out and just calls him out on it, like, you're wrong. And then the guy's like, yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong. And he's just straight up. Joe's always so straight up with people. Yeah. He doesn't beat around the bush or say, he doesn't do the whole, I got to go. I got to make supper. I'll talk to you later. No, it's okay. I'm done talking to you. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Which that's a problem with some things, is we're just too scared to be real with people. People would respect you more, and you'd probably get better feedback from them if you were just straight up from the start, you know? So I kind of like how your boss is saying that, because obviously you have the respect of being there and stuff like that for so long.
Yeah.
So hopefully they listen and take it into account.
Yeah.
And then you can have that less stressful too. Like, I like when I do ask for help. For instance, I ask my parents all the time, or I ask my fiance to do this, and this for me, and then I don't worry about it. It's like it's gone. I cross off my schedule even though it's not done, because I don't have to take care of it. So I think asking for help in that regard really relieves some stress, at least in my life. It also like builds that relationship with whoever you're talking to. Because then we go about communication and stuff like that. Like, think about how much better your peer communication will be in your job. And it will all rise because you have an expectation. Obviously, the boss has an expectation, then everybody else who maybe hasn't been there as long, especially since new people are going to be coming in, have that expectation and hopefully feel like they're doing the right thing. Hopefully they're not scared to make a mistake, though, if that makes sense. I don't think that's good either.
Yeah.
Another question I thought of that is why does it grow your understanding?
Help?
Yeah, asking for help. Because it's not immediate, you know what I mean? Like, you still usually have to figure something out. Or your advice, you don't have to take their advice. Like, yeah, it helps you become more organized. It helps you to weigh some options. But how does it help you understand?
I mean, it depends what you're asking for help.
What's the value of asking for help right away?
I mean, like, asking for help on how to drive the car is, it's kind of like very like immediate. Like, you take that feedback immediately. Because if you don't take it, you're gonna not drive a car.
So you're saying it's just a different angle to look at things.
Or you can ask for help on a relationship, or I'd say it kind of goes both ways on lifting weights. Like, you can ask for help on how to deadlift better, and then you get a few pointers and you apply them, but like one doesn't work because I don't know, your hips don't move as far back.
So what's the difference between asking for help, looking up that YouTube video, you know what to do, you see it, and coaching?
Like coaching someone or being coached?
Being coached. So you're deadlifting. You look on the internet, you say you got to turn your wrist over more to have the bar, you got to do hook grip, You need to sit back more on the bar. You got to put your weight in your heels. You know you got to do all that. But when you lift, you film yourself, and you're like, oh, I didn't do this, this, and this. But what's the difference between asking for that help or seeking that advice out and getting coached?
It's the same thing.
You don't think one's better than the other?
No, it's the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Why are you doing the same thing?
Because if you're asking for something, you're asking to be coached.
Yeah.
Like you're asking for help, you're asking to be coached. If you're being coached, you're still asking for that help.
Yeah, but
or that help is sought you out.
I think
you mean the.
I think coaching goes a step further though, because you get that immediate feedback I was talking about. Let's say that you're doing the deadlift, you know all these form things we just talked about, but now a coach is watching you and he can tell you every rep in a matter of seconds what you did wrong compared to you having to stop, look at your phone, okay, next time I'll have to do this.
That's not secret. That's your own, like, that's your own information. That's like you're just giving yourself feedback. You're not asking for help by yourself.
But a coach can give you feedback right away. I asked you to coach me, right? You are getting help, yes. But getting coached, I'm saying, takes it a step further than just asking for help. If I ask, okay, I go to the gym. I ask the person at the front desk, hey, how do you deadlift? They say, oh, this, and this for your form, right? Then I go lift and I'm done. Or I say, hey, can you teach me how to deadlift? They show you, you watch them, then you deadlift, and each rep they tell you something to get better. Don't you think you get better faster when they coach you? It's like continuously asking for help. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just, my point.
I'm not gonna argue with you or to give feedback because it's like we're in two different points. It's the same thing. To me, it's the same thing. I'm with you.
Well, I'm just trying to take it a step further because you get immediate. I asked about getting feedback and understanding. It grows your understanding faster.
How I would take it in a different understanding would be like you are struggling in your relationship with your fiance.
Okay.
So you go to a marriage coach. Is that what they're called?
Marriage counselor.
Marriage counselor. So that is like you're going to a marriage counselor or you're gonna ask me. Like I'm not a marriage counselor. You can ask me for help or advice. But you seeking like a marriage counselor.
So you're saying the level of knowledge is different.
Yeah. Like where it's like you're asking me for advice, which is still asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like it's the same thing. It's a parallel to like the
So
weight room because you can ask the front desk guy to either help you, like what's the best way, and he's just gonna list off things.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna do is just list off or ask you questions,
and
like your marriage or your leading up to marriage.
Yeah.
Marriage coaching, or you're actually going to go in and seek someone that actually has like a degree or like.
Yeah, so don't you think usually if they have the degree or background in it that they would go faster?
Yeah, I'd say that depth you want to go to. But I don't know. It all depends. Sometimes.
Okay, I get your point about the feedback. I think we're talking too.
Yeah,
I was just taking it a step further in feedback, I think. Because, yeah, no matter what, you're going to get some sort of feedback.
Yeah, it's either I don't know how to say it, but distant feedback.
Just immediate.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree.
Because also, to me, it'd feel weird if you and Stephanie sat down and asked me questions about how to make your guys' relationship better. Where if you actually went to like a marriage counselor.
Yeah, it would probably depend on where we're at, I think, in our problems. Like if we were just like starting beginning problems, we might start with just a friend.
Yeah.
And then if it got like big and serious, then it's like, okay, we need to go to a marriage counselor type deal. So I think some of it's meeting where you're at, which is also the need. This is like a recreational athlete versus a professional athlete. Obviously, the professional athlete is going to seek out a coach and get coached every rep versus somebody recreational might just ask at the front desk.
Yeah, maybe the level's different.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Here's some ways. Go ahead.
It's very interesting. I think like asking for help is such an interesting thing because it's like so many different levels of it. There's a lot of people, like we were talking about pride earlier, which stops them, or like feeling embarrassed or not knowing what like what to do, which I guess kind of all leads back into pride to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also like people that like go out and like pay for help. They like a coach, a counselor, or they go to like events and get like leadership coaching. And so it's very interesting, the mindset of like different types of people.
You know, the person everybody always has is that one kid in class who just doesn't ever, you know, like teacher goes, "Are there any questions?" This kid raises his hand right away, right? Can you ask too many questions?
No.
Like, I think I agree. I mean, I think there are dumb questions, and I think you can repeat the same thing just because you weren't listening. But if you're just like, for instance, when I do like an order or something online, I always triple check to make sure I got the address right, billing stuff, you know. So like, if they're just checking, like you said this about the project, right? I think it's how they word it that's annoying. Because it's like, oh, what are we supposed to do again? Well, clearly you weren't listening to directions, you know. But if they say something like, "We're supposed to do this, this, and this," you said, right? Then it makes more sense. So I think I agree that there's not a limit of questions, maybe.
Yeah. I know there's a thing in the military where it's like you can't leave a question on the table. You have to understand it. Like,
and again, if somebody, it's the classic saying, if you have a question, it's likely somebody else has that same question, you know?
Yeah.
So to not feel embarrassed about it. But sometimes you feel like pressured though. Like for me anyways, I feel pressured to not ask the question because, okay, other people want to get this project done, or I'm just being dumb thinking about this. Whereas people probably don't have it. Or there's that's the time factors. You want to get something done, so I don't have time to ask a question. Or like you're, what's the scenario I could use this in? Like how you feel like you need help, but you don't have time, and then there's a bunch of people waiting, and then you're like, I got to get to this in 5 minutes, I don't have time to ask. Or you see that person, you're like, if I ask them, they're going to want to talk to me for 20 minutes. You just totally avoid them. Some of those also.
I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. I'm pretty much done.
I'm just thinking instances at work. I just walk away from kids. They start asking me like not dumb questions, but like more or less like I'm kind of like oversimplifying things for you. Like I just kind of like move on. I was like, I'll come back when like you're taking a second to like understand and think about stuff. Because sometimes there's sometimes like kids won't ask anything, and then they just look dumb at you. And then there's other times where like kids got questions.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather they be creative or ask questions rather than look at you like, huh?
But, right. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm done answering your questions.
Yeah. Or like you give them the opportunity to ask and they still don't do it. It's like, all right, figure it out then. I also think it's funny how humans, like sometimes we're like, yeah, I need help and we have no problem. And then other times it's like, no way am I going to ask for help here. And like one of the ways to help people from Harvard Business School, is to learn how the world works better. You know, that's basically what we want to do, is know how the world works. And easiest way to do that is to help others. You find out their story or their background. It's literally what Joe Rogan does on his podcast. He learns about the world.
Which is so awesome. And
he asks a ton of questions. And think about how much more knowledge he has.
Yeah.
How much more he knows about himself.
Every question you ask gives you some type of feedback or knowledge. My computer's gonna die. Just an FYI. So just in case we need to wrap things up or whatever's happening right now.
All right. YouTube's going downhill, boys. We're low on battery.
Yeah, so it might end. Just in case my computer cuts out, I don't have my charger anywhere near me, or anywhere, maybe even in the house.
It's not good.
Okay.
I got a good point coming up. Let's not forget it by then.
It's probably gonna be it. This is awesome. I think my computer gets this low. It sometimes just dies. Just FYI.
I know. You'll be enough time.
Okay.
Good? Is it charging?
Yeah, it's charging. Okay, what's your point? Oh, we gotta get going. Which one?
How do you not have, first of all, how do you not have your I just gotta ask. I just gotta be real here.
You know, sometimes I use it at work, and sometimes I am very adamant to work out and leave.
So you just got done talking about like asking questions. You said something about asking questions, which makes sense because that's the episode. What did you say? Like, you know what?
Yeah. I say every question you ask gives you a little bit better knowledge,
so
feedback.
I think the way you ask the questions, reporters like learn about how to do this well in school. To ask a certain question to get the response that you're looking for.
Right.
Like, you got to know what you're asking. You can't beat around the bush. If you want to know how to do algebra, you got to find the spot of algebra that you're messing up on and ask that question, right? You want to figure out how to fix your knee pain. You got to figure out, first of all, what the problem is with your knee.
I just Google it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not good enough for me anymore. I asked my dad, I was like, why does my knee do this when I squat? He's like, you might have this. Try doing this. I was like, no, I know that's not the problem. So I need him to physically see it.
I said we should cut it off.
And show. I would love to some days. Let me tell you. But anyways, number 2 in Harvest Business School to be better asking questions and ask for help is to know what you want to ask. And like have a longer term of vision of what you're looking for and have step-by-step stuff. Third one, which makes sense, is to ask smartly, which we just talked about. I love number 4. Don't assume you know who and what people know. This goes back to our level of what you're looking for, meet you where you're at. Man, you know what? I got to give us some praise here for a second. I just have a guest today, and long story short is, didn't happen. We'll just say that. We'll just say that. And I was looking up, like, man, because I hate how when it doesn't flow correctly, and probably should have had a backup person probably. But either way, I looked up like how to have a better podcast if it's just whoever's hosting it, and we hit those boxes, baby. Like we hit every single one.
I'm good like that. I'm like that. That's what the kids say at work.
I was just so proud of us. I was like, man, we did all that. And then now, have you noticed the last like 3 episodes, everything we've looked up on how to do it better, we talk about in the episode. I'm telling you, we're getting wiser, baby. We don't have wrinkles yet.
We don't need no Google.
We do. We just said we're asking for help. We need Google. Let's be honest.
Need
all right?
no Google.
We need Bing, Yahoo, Google. You know they help with certain things. You do a certain search engine.
What?
Certain search engines help you find certain things quicker.
What? Google.
Yahoo's the bad one, I think.
Don't care. Never. I'm not using Google. Every other thing doesn't exist.
No. Number 5 is to create that culture where asking for help is encouraged. Again, that's the path of, hey, I'm too scared, or whatever it might be. All right, so we got asking for help. Now,
I like a lot. Maybe it's just the way I learned and my thought process, but I always am able to ask more questions when I'm doing something. If I'm sitting there learning about something, I never have questions.
I think it's because if you're more hands-on, you're like, you can see it better maybe, or that's just like, we talked about learning styles. Yeah. That's just a little better. But anyways, that's about asking for help. Now, let's change to how to help others feel more encouraged about asking for help, like number 5 was. So when you're looking at the kids or whoever, how do you get them to ask for help or make them feel like you're a listening ear? How do you be more understanding to them? Because you can get feedback from them even though you're the one not asking for help, you know?
And I think this also sometimes I'm bad at, depending on the situation, is my body language. Sometimes kids will ask me questions and it's not the time. So I'm very short or very like not with it.
Yeah.
I say that, but in helping people is letting them speak, letting them talk, But sometimes they have to say a few sentences and then a question comes.
Yeah.
Or then like a situation comes out that they actually need help with, and they're just covering up with certain attitudes or certain behaviors.
Yeah.
I'd also say just being, I want to say being present, but being like, I want to say immersed, like just hopping in. Like if they're doing schoolwork, like sit with them or do it with them.
Yeah.
And like I was talking like a few episodes back about doing math problems with them.
Yeah.
Because I actually was trying to learn and relearn, I guess I should say, because I already knew how to do it. I just can't remember how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing it with them, and they're able to like just ask questions or do this and that. You're like, oh yeah, this is how you do that.
Yeah, I was thinking like what the internet basically is telling me here is to be concise and specific to whatever they need, and then be like you said, listen or be a listening ear.
Yeah.
I'm like, or being present. I also think like make it personal to them, like maybe share a story from your experience. You know what I mean? Because that's how the wise person once told me that stories are the best way to communicate and make friendships. Like let them know that you're there for them, and then follow up a couple days later for those results. Like, hey, have you tried this or whatever? And if they didn't, hopefully they're honest with you and they said they didn't.
Right.
Because otherwise you can't help them. You know, if they're not willing to help themselves, you can't really help them. So I think all those are very maybe easy ways.
I'd say that's all. Man, no, it's not my train of thought. I'd say like also like I don't seek like people have to come like
come to you,
yeah, like I don't seek people that have questions.
Yeah.
If you need any question answered or like a better understanding of how to do something, or you want to learn something that I would know.
Yeah.
I'm never my mind is never like looking for those things or learning for seeing people. Like you have to come to me, and that's just that's just my like behavior, my closed offness of like.
Mm-hmm.
But I act some type of way and walk some type of way.
Well,
so like they,
Yeah.
And so like I'm just going to represent like the things that like I stand for or whatever.
Yeah.
And so if like kids need help in anger management issues,
yeah.
and usually like I would just tell them A, B, C, and then if they need a deeper understanding or questions, they have to come to me.
Yeah.
And then like I'm not going to seek them out because I've already represented the things I've said.
Yeah. But I think first of all, we need more of those conversations. Like we say, hey, how's it going? Somebody says, good, you, and they say, good. That's just being polite, right?
Yeah.
Like I was at a friend's house for when I was gone this past week. And basically he just said, hey, you read any good books? And we started having a whole conversation about stuff. Like if people would just say, hey, are you struggling with something? Is there something I can help you with? Like not just to like attack them, but just be like genuine, like, hey, do you got anything like you want to talk about? And just do that privately, and then maybe in public when you see that they're making gains, be like, hey, good job over there today. And it just makes them feel good. And like seek that collaboration is another tactic that they talk about. And also, most people, this goes both ways that we're talking about, like getting help and helping others. Most people like helping.
Yeah.
They don't like to work, maybe, if it like takes a lot of work to help them. And that's why more people are likely to give their money than their time. But most people, like, it's a humanistic trait to want to help. Most people don't say, F off, I'm not doing anything, you know? They're not crawling in a hole.
Right.
And if they are, then kick some dirt on them and let them die. Just kidding. Maybe don't do that. Maybe help them try to see the other side. But it is weird how people are wired like that, though. Because like I would say we're completely different.
On a bigger scale, like how we, as the United States, help or send more money outwards into other countries than it would to fix our own system and homelessness and issues like that.
Well, again, I was talking to my mom today, and you got to be able to. I think it's stupid to ask people or ask for help, or not ask for help, to have others ask you for help in something that you haven't already done yourself. Like if you're not willing to do it yourself, workout, for example, that's an easy one, right? A hard workout. Never make somebody do a hard workout that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. Never be a business, never ask your employees to do something that you wouldn't stand behind or do yourself. It's like you have to go through something similar or understand a situation in order to have them understand as well, because otherwise you don't really understand the situation. It doesn't have to be the exact situation because that's impossible, but at least have the same emotion or type of scenario. I think it's really important as well. And that's, again, meet people where they're at and kind of figure it out that way. Anything else?
I'm not mad at asking for help. I suck at
Helping others?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I suck at helping
No,
others. I'm just not the best at it.
I would say I suck at asking for help. The general population, I want to superficially help, but it's hard to help a big mass of people without personally knowing them, like on a deeper level, you know? But I think we'll get there at some point. My goal is to get there at some point. And I would say when I care about people, I'm pretty good at helping them. Just because I make it like an expectation that like I see it and I turn it into myself. If that makes sense. But it's hard because you can't control them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you're helping yourself.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I think we both can improve, it sounds like, in some way. Maybe either, like mine, I just put ask for help 3 times this week. Just do it, literally. You can't ask too many questions. Don't know what's going on. Red light's too long, roll down your window and say, hey, you don't know this light turn green? No, that's not right. Or maybe you could go up to a couple kids and ask them if they need help with something. Maybe that could be yours. So either ask people if they need help 3 times or ask for help 3 times. Heck, I might as well do both. I can get better about it. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, let's wrap her up there. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget about the 1440 on Thursday. Thanks for stopping by. Check out the YouTube. We'll link everything in the description. Okay, guys. Catch you guys later. Have a good week.
Love you. Bye.